Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. In my video yesterday, I showed this map of the dates of statewide record maximum temperatures. The vast majority of states set their all-time maximum temperature record with carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere below 350 parts per million. And most also set their maximum temperature during the 1930s or earlier. But one state just changed. It's Colorado, where I live. Colorado has a new official record hottest temperature. Let's take a look at that. A 115-degree reading at the John Martin Dam in southeast Colorado is now the state's hottest temperature ever recorded. After a lengthy confirmation process, it's now official. Colorado has a new hottest recorded temperature on record. The Colorado Climate Center, the governing body for official state meteorological records, confirmed that a 115-degree reading taken this summer is now officially the state's hottest temperature ever recorded. The record was in effect uncovered accidentally. Washington, D.C.-based meteorologist Ian Livingston tweeted a listing of each state's individual hottest temperature readings for July, and the 115-degree temperature in Colorado caught the eye of assistant state climatologist Becky Bollinger. Here's the tweet which Ian Livingston made showing a 115-degree temperature in Colorado. After that, the local National Weather Service and the Colorado Climate Center embarked on a lengthy confirmation process that included testing the equipment used to measure the temperature and a National Weather Service visit to the John Martin Dam itself. A final vote verified that the temperature will go down in the record books as Colorado's hottest temperature on record. I like that word verified because I spent 25 years being a design verification engineer for companies like Intel, IBM, Apple, and Motorola. So let's do some verification of our own to determine if the claimed record is actually credible. This is a very easy problem because the John Martin Dam is surrounded by 6 high-quality United States Historical Climatology Network stations. The claimed record of 115 degrees occurred right here at the John Martin Dam on July 20th. But none of the surrounding United States Historical Climatology Network stations were anywhere close to that hot. The closest United States Historical Climatology Network station at Las Animas was only 107 degrees, 8 degrees cooler than the claimed record. That's also traditionally the hottest place in Colorado. The other stations in the area were 99 degrees, 110 degrees, 106 degrees, 104 degrees, and 104 degrees. There were no other stations within 5 degrees of the claimed record. The closest United States Historical Climatology Network station at Las Animas has had 424 days over 105 degrees since the start of records in the late 19th century. Las Animas has had 2 days which reached 114 degrees. These occurred in 1933 and in 2012. The red circle over here shows the date of the claimed temperature record for this year. As you can see, July 20th, 2019 was nowhere near a record at Las Animas. And in fact, the 107 degrees recorded that day was fairly typical for hot summer days at Las Animas over the past century. Summer temperatures during the 1930s at Las Animas during the Dust Bowl era were much hotter. Let's look again at the proximity of Las Animas to the claimed record of 115 degrees. They're very close to each other. An 8-degree temperature difference over this short of a distance defies credibility. The claimed temperature record of 115 degrees was 5 degrees hotter than Lamar and 11 degrees hotter than Eads. The verification process for this claimed record temperature isn't looking too good so far. Now let's take a closer look at the location of the thermometer where the 115-degree temperature was recorded. The thermometer is located right here inside the red circle. Note that it's located down below a 100-foot high dam. It's right next to a parking lot, and there's a little dirt road which goes immediately adjacent to the thermometer. Now picture what this place looked like on Saturday, July 20th, 2019. It was a weekend, it was the hottest day of the summer, and this small parking lot was undoubtedly full of RVs, pickup trucks, and SUVs. This reservoir is one of the largest reservoirs in Colorado, and it's very popular for boaters in the summertime. Given the small parking lot, it's very likely that there were vehicles parked immediately adjacent to the thermometer. Temperatures were well over 100 degrees and people were undoubtedly running their air conditioning very hard. There's a very high probability that the ambient temperature at this thermometer was influenced by heat coming off of nearby vehicles. Remember that the claimed record of 115 degrees was only 1 degree higher than the previous record. And there are additional issues with nearby asphalt and with this tall dam which would have collected the sun's heat during the day. Unless the State Climate Committee and the National Weather Service could prove that there were no hot vehicles adjacent to the thermometer that day, this temperature should be considered bogus. It's extremely unlikely that the State Climate Committee could prove that there were no hot vehicles here that day or that they even attempted to do so. Now let's look at the history of Colorado temperatures a little bit closer. This newspaper article appeared in 1934. It said, "The warmest weather recorded this year was 112 degrees at Las Animas on July 13th, 3 degrees under the all-time record." That tells us that at some time in the past, Colorado already had a 115-degree temperature reading. And the traditional record temperature for Colorado has always been considered to be 118 degrees measured on July 11th, 1888. I was discussing this 118-degree temperature with Ian Livingston yesterday. Remember that Ian Livingston is the Washington, D.C. meteorologist who originally reported the 115-degree temperature. He argued that the 118-degree temperature recorded in 1888 was bogus because it didn't correlate well with other stations in the area. Yet he insisted that the 115-degree temperature this year was valid even though it didn't correlate well with the other stations in the area. This is classic Orwellian doublethink. Richard Feynman, the great American physicist, said, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool." It's pretty clear to me that Ian Livingston, the State Climate Committee, and the National Weather Service are all fooling themselves about this claimed temperature record. There's no indication that temperatures on July 20th this year in that region were anywhere close to a record, or even out of the ordinary. The big weather story this year in Colorado has been cold and snow, not record heat. I took this picture on the first full day of summer this year just west of Boulder. And we've been having record snow this autumn as well. We had one of the shortest summers on record this year, right after a very long, cold spring and right before a very cold, snowy autumn. This claimed fake high temperature record is just a mindless distraction from what's going on right outside our windows. Here's an article from Colorado Public Radio News discussing this claimed record temperature with the state climatologist Russ Schumacher. He said, "We're seeing a lot more high temperature records than low temperature records, and I think that's pretty clearly a signal of climate change." Russ Schumacher manages the weather station at Colorado State University in Fort Collins. Let's take a look at his weather station. It's located right in the middle of a huge area of asphalt. This is his thermometer, a small grassy area surrounded by a large area of asphalt and urban development. This is where the Fort Collins thermometer was located in 1937, in the middle of a farm. By 1950, the university and the city of Fort Collins had begun to encroach on the thermometer. And by 50 years ago, the thermometer was surrounded by the campus and the city. Now the thermometer is located in downtown Fort Collins, a notorious heat island in the third largest city in the state. Given the proximity to asphalt, it should be no surprise that we're seeing more record high temperatures and fewer record low temperatures, and it has nothing to do with climate change. Using junk science to rewrite history has become a common practice among climate alarmists. George Orwell said, "The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history." Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.